realize, and let me just go back to being raised first before I even talk about executive leaders. Is your mother still alive? Is your mother alive?
Yes.
Well, guess what? You're being parented. My mother is alive. My father is alive, but he's not an active parent of me. My mother is alive. When I engage with her, whether she knows it or not, she's still parenting me.
So parenting is a lifelong process.
Until that parent dies, that parent is parenting. So we're being parented. Our adult children, I have adult children. I'm still parenting in a different way. Parenting does not stop at some magic point in time. Parenting continues. We also need to do self-parenting.
Really? What is that?
We're talking about character formation, leadership from the inside out. My character will not be completely formed until God gives me rest or takes me to be with Him. So my character, the formation of my character is my responsibility. So I must raise a leader in myself.
So raising a leader is not confined or defined to age.
No.
So at my ripe old age of 50 plus...
You've got it. And I'm older than you.
Oh, right on that.
I'd like to believe that, so you can say, but you don't look it. I was fishing for a compliment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm slow. I'm slow. My wife's not here. I don't see the teleprompter.
But yes.
So we are constantly in. If what you're saying is true, then we are constantly in the process of developing our leadership.
Yes.
And we're constantly in the process of being raised.
Yes.
And because God is still there.
Yes.
He is still watching.
Yes.
The process.
And assisting the process. I should be better today than I was yesterday. I should be better this week than I was last week.
So this is not just a book about child development.
No. It's about Christian formation and maybe transformation.
Is it easier for a child than for an adult?
Yes. And that's why I wrote the book to parents, primarily. Because before that child gets to the point where peer pressure takes over, we are their Lord and the person to whom they look up to. And we need to make the most of that time. We know that happens somewhere around age 11, 12. But we're seeing some earlier trends now with children where it might be around age 9, 10, depending on where your child lives and what they've been exposed to, where they might be maturing, not physiologically maturing, but so exposed to influences that they should not be exposed to, that you might have to work a little faster if you're, for example, in urban areas. If the television is babysitting your child between the critical hours of 3 and 5 o'clock, when they are selecting what they will expose their minds to. But generally speaking, around age 12, kind of when Jesus went into the temple and was able to speak to those learned rabbis, right around that time is when we really have to shift into another gear. Because their peers, they want to look like their peers, they want to do what their peers are doing, and we have lost a lot of the influence over the choices they will make. So if we don't grab them in those from birth to age 12, believe me, you cannot now embed in them values to turn them around if that was not a part of their foundational parenting from birth to 12.
So then how, with that being said, how then can we reconstruct or re-engineer to be raised in God's way?
Read the book.
That was too easy.
You passed me that when I couldn't resist. But and I think it goes deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
That was a quick answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's really that as parents, as individuals, we have to study. We don't get a pass. We can't say, well, the way I was raised by my parent, or the way. We don't get a pass with that, because knowledge is so available. The person who wants this book, they can get it at AdventistBookCenters.com online.
Mm-hmm.
They can get it Amazon.com. Of course, they can get it at Oakwood.edu.
Now, which is an interesting point. You have made this book not only informationally powerful, but also for the sake of your alma mater and where you work at Oakwood, you've made it also financially powerful.
Yes.
Tell me what you're doing in terms of the proceeds of this book.
I came to Oakwood University in 1974 as a tender 15-year-old, soon to be 16 years. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through school. Graduated in 1978. Came back and worked as a vice president in the 90s. I'm now back with my husband, who is the president of Oakwood University. I watch students struggling every day, working like I worked, dashing from class to work, sleeping. I used to sleep 10 minutes. I could literally lie down on the bed and sleep for 10 minutes, wake up and go to work.
So you were the originator of the power nap?
So I do not want students to have to go through that. Yes, I kept my GP up. I was an honor roll, no problem. But it was difficult. I'd like to see them play a little bit more, have a little bit more relaxation. The proceeds from the book, I don't get a dime from the book. Not one dime. Not even a cent. All proceeds. When the book is purchased, regardless of where it is purchased, all proceeds go to student scholarships at Oakwood University. The books that I sell when I'm doing workshops, or I purchase them, or when Oakwood University purchases those books, a large percentage of the proceeds, of course, the book publisher tell us they have to be paid. So the Review and Herald takes their percentage. What's left over goes to student scholarship. Oakwood University does not even take a percentage for administrative overhead of handling the sale of the book. Students are the beneficiaries. I think that's commendable for the university. Now, one could say, well, I could have my retirement house with the book. It's not about that. It's about, well, it's about giving back. I did not write this book. I truly believe that God allowed me to write this book and to bring it to publication. So I have to give it back to God. So by giving it to students, it gives back to God.
Who's your main audience for this book? Who should be reading and buying this book?
Guess who's reading it right now? College students.
Really?
They're some not even married. I have young men who are reading it, and they say, and I want them to read it so they can be awesome dads. There's a letter I write in the back to mothers and to fathers. I want college men to read this so they can plan on the kind of woman they need to marry, so that their children can be raised by a partner team that is committed to God.
Now, you are also, you wouldn't say this, but you're an expert in leadership development. What makes this leadership development book different from the others that are on the market?
That are geared to parenting and raising children. It's grounded in Scripture, and it's easy to read. And the stories, there's even for the person who's interested in teaching values to their children. I even take on the comic book industry. And there's a wonderful little section in here where I track the sales of comics. Maybe because my husband was so into comics when he was a young child. And I know that an image is worth 1,000 words. And so comics provide a powerful opportunity to communicate values to our children. And so there's a section in here where we do that. And then I go to where in Scripture we see some of the most powerful images. And guess where that is? The last book of the Bible, Revelation, the book that most parents will never read to their children. I said, that's the book you should read to your children, especially young boys. Imagine a 9-year-old, 10-year-old boy. They see the dragons, they see the woman in the wilderness, they see the nondescript beast. It fuels their imagination. That's when you understand the way a child is wired. You can now take advantage of their natural orientation as they're developing. So because the imagination is fueled at 9, 10, 11-year-old, Revelation. And I illustrate some of the values by showing how we can use these images to communicate. And by the way, boys are different from girls.
In what ways?
Just as I illustrated with the images. Boys have this powerful imagination where it's very action-oriented. Girls, it's much more dramatic. It's acting it out. It's maybe being in a play or performing in a different way. It's still a type of performance. In the book, we talk about raising girls.
You seem that you speak from a well of experience.
Because, yes, 2 girls. But I've also been involved with my friends, and as they're raising their boys, because you never know, they could be my son-in-law. Oh, yes, exactly. So I was actively engaged with my friends as they were raising their sons. Raising girls, quite different, especially in the United States, but I dare say around the world. Because what we do is we take society's understanding of what a woman should be and use that to raise our girls to fill that role. And so you hear from girls in raising a girl, we have to stop and ask, what are her dreams? You know, Katharine Graham, former publisher of the Washington Post, founded by her father. Her husband was one of the publishers that Dad designated. She tells a powerful story about during the Watergate years. She never took credit for what happened, and she links it back to her childhood. She was raised as a woman during a time when women were not in the newsroom. Her father would not allow her to become the publisher, although she had a degree in journalism, University of Chicago. Gave it to her husband instead because she's a woman. Sad story, but a powerful book to read, to understand what that generation went through. But she was raised to fill a role that her aptitude did not predispose her towards. Her parents did not consider her aptitude, her desires, her wants. We ask young boys, what do you want to become when you grow up? How many times do we ask young girls, what do you want to become when you grow up? We give them the doll. We don't ask them. We commend them. We pat them on the shoulder when they're cradling the doll and say, you're going to be a good mommy. Yes, she will probably be a good mommy. But the boy will also probably be a good father. But what else? If she chooses something else. So we don't give her choice. We often give the boy choice, but not the girl. So we talk about that in the book. And we talk about the role choice allows you to have ambition. and we talk about how we give our boys ambition that allows them to be agentic. Now, I need to stop because now I'm getting into my scholarship.
Now, you are, in every sense of the word, a corporate executive. You are a leadership expert. You are a quality assurance examiner. You are one who globetrots in your work. Any particular advice for the careerist, if that's the correct term, the career woman, who wants to be a mother, but also wants to climb that corporate ladder? Do you speak to them in this book?
I speak to them in the Sloan Encyclopedia, where I have a lovely article on the glass ceiling. And it's also referenced in at the Catalyst website, which is a website that helps women deal with the glass ceiling in corporate America. And so for that woman, she's not in this book in terms of her career. She's in this book, however, in terms of her recognition that she has choice in life. She's in this book in terms of understanding that you must lead through your character. So it's not just men in corporations who are, or the titans of whether it's Wall Street or wherever, who need to have values. I know I'd referenced Bernie Madoff, and I did talk about Enron, and I talk about skilling, and yes. And we could even talk about the whistleblower. But women are not naturally virtuous.
Say that again, please.
There are women who have killed. There are women who have murdered. We would like to believe the Victorian story that women are virtuous, but we're born in sin and shapen in, we all are, male and female. And so women need to understand that they can also embezzle from their company. They can also kill a person's hopes and dreams by a word ill-spoken. And so leadership inside out applies not only to men, it applies also to women who need to be conscious of how they are affecting that other person. So that other-centeredness, that mindfulness is something that women also need to be aware of. See, gone right back to it. We've gone right back to it. Character formation never stops until we die. Maybe.
So, in a nutshell, this has been a wonderful interview, a wonderful conversation. How does one raise a leader God's way?
How do you raise a leader God's way? First, understanding what God intends for us to do with our children. If I don't know God's way, and I don't know my child, I can't raise that child God's way. So, in order to understand, I must know God's way, which means an understanding of Scripture. It doesn't mean I need to immediately say I'm a Christian. It means, though, I must submit myself to what God says in Scripture. So, what does it mean to be merciful? What does it mean to be long-suffering? What does it mean to be a humble person? What does it mean to care about others? That's what it all means. That's God's way, caring about others. If we leave God out of it, then I'm simply just a good humanist. There's nothing transcendent about what I'm doing. Raising a leader God's way is raising a leader for eternity. You're welcome. My pleasure.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
That,
So much.
that was wonderful.
Really?
Oh yeah. Well,
Oh, thank you for the prompts.
no.
I was trying to keep in my head all that you told me.
and I missed my cue. But what you did, in my judgment, you took this document, these pages, and you humanized them.
Okay.
That's what you did. You showed that you didn't write a book. The book leaped off the pages.
Mm-hmm. That's what you were pushing for.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I knew the
Yeah.
I knew the doctor. I knew
Yeah.
the PHR.
Yeah.
I knew the
Yeah.
PhD.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanted to, and you did it. And I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'll give it to Tony.
Yeah.
I don't see the need to cut, edit anything. Nobody else wrote this book but you, and as evident.
Yeah.
You know this book, even as you told me the other day, even with what was the word, appropriate. We're looking forward to rolling this out. Starting July 1.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you. Thank you.
We'll
Again.
have a bunch of fun with this.
Thank you.
We'll have a bunch of fun with this.
Thank you. May God be praised.